joy, everything.
It's inspired young people.
Inspiration comes from within you. When you clear out the garbage that's in your mind, you then create space for something better, more beautiful to come in.
Let's have life and have it more abundantly.
I say yes.
It's like taking a workshop. I get to be in my pajamas.
We have a very active imagination, which is why it's important to learn how to harness it and then point it in the direction you want to go.
I listen to your show every day.
It's time now for Living Your Inspired Life with Susan Burrell. Susan is no-nonsense, inspirational, motivational, and fun.
This is positive talk radio.
Practical wisdom for everyday life.
It's a gift you give yourself.
Now, here's Susan.
And welcome to Living Your Inspired Life. You're listening to News Talk 1590 KVTA. And before I dive into the conversation today, I want to invite everyone to go to the website, livingyourinspiredlife.org, and check out all the great work we've done over the years. There's tons of stuff that's archived there. So you can listen to Living Your Inspired Life whenever you want, wherever you want, anytime, because it's all on the website, livingyourinspiredlife.org. So with that said, you guys got me today. Yay! So I've been contemplating... who am I now? And where am I going? And I imagine that many of you out there actually, hopefully, you think about this. Who am I now and where am I going? As opposed to just trudging on for your entire life, not knowing who you are and where you're going. And part of why I'm contemplating this whole thing of who am I now and where am I going is because I went through a really... traumatic divorce, which caused me to really investigate myself and who am I now, and then who am I now, and who am I now in every moment while I was going through that process. And so what I notice about that is oftentimes traumatic events, whether it's a divorce, which really is feels like a death, even though you've got a live body still around, or a death, or a job loss, or a disease, a diagnosis, whatever traumatic event that's happening in your life, a breakup, it often is the opportunity to really ask the question, who am I now? Because who I is no longer. Who I was talking about me, in that particular relationship, I no longer am that. And to consciously ask the question, who am I now, means that we get to be at choice. And that's what we talk about on Living Your Inspired Life all the time. We are always at choice to live our best life. And we're at choice to sit and, suffer. And so when I was going through my traumatic event in my life, I realized that I wanted to come out the other end completely different. I wanted to change up whatever I had been, whatever behaviorisms I had during that time frame, my relationship, that created the thing that caused it to end. And also to look at within myself and go, okay, how can I be a better person out of that? There are absolutely going to be lessons that I'm learning during this process. And that's true for, again, if you have a disease, a diagnosis, if you're going through grief, there is always lessons or gifts. And I when you're going through the garbage, it's kind of hard to find the gift and go, oh, look, here's a gift when everything looks like garbage. But knowing that ahead of time helped me to navigate this very traumatic process that I was in, and I did it with an intention to really know who I am, to learn who I am. Who I am was something. Asking that question of myself really deeply I hadn't done it before I got married. And I think a lot of people don't necessarily do it when you get married in your 20s. And fortunately, I think the kids that are in their 20s now, that generation, they are asking the questions. My son is saying, Mom, he's 20-something, I don't want to be in a long-term relationship right now. I want to learn who I am, and I know that I learn best by traveling. And I learn best by being out in the world and interacting with people. And I'd rather do that than settle down and start a family right now. And I'm like, yay, good, go for it. Because then they're ahead of the game. You're ahead of the game when you enter into a long-term relationship. And I would invite anybody that's listening, it's the same with committing to a new job. Who am I now? Who do I want to evolve into and become? And therefore, that informs where am I going? Now, the other piece of this for me that I have always known within myself, but really it helped me ground myself during the trauma of releasing a long-term marriage, was the truth of my being. And the truth of my being, the truth of everybody's being, is that we are a divine being. We are a divine emanation. It doesn't matter what religious belief, affiliation, system thing you have and you practice. That is the truth. We are that infinite beingness that comes from a place that's indescribable and unnameable. But we are all connected to that. Every human being on the planet, and certainly all the external traumas and dramas and tragedies that we are witnessing in the world, that kind of points to people perpetrating these traumatic events, these tragedies. They seem to think that I'm different from you, that you're different from me, that we're different from them, the us versus them thing. And that's just not true. People, if you're listening to me, I'm telling you it's not true. What is true is that we are connected to this eternal oneness that is in all things. The rocks, the earth, the sky, the air. I just got back from an amazing trip to Machu Picchu, Peru, and the cosmology, the Incan cosmology of the Peruvian people is all about that we are all interconnected. In fact, the Peruvians do not have a word for friend. They call you sister or brother because they know that we're all connected. We're all one. And so they operate out of a heart space and a deep internal wisdom that it anchors them to the earth and their agriculture and to each other. And it's not about being separate. It's about how are we all going to work together to make where we are better. And that to me is really why we're all here on planet Earth anyway. So who am I? I am this divine, eternal being that is experiencing life here on planet Earth. Why? I don't have the answer to why yet, people, but perhaps somebody out there does. And if you do, email me and let me know what your why is, because I'd be very curious to see what the whys are. But I do know that there is a why. I am always looking for the why. So consequently, because I'm always looking for the why, I think that's why I was called to do this radio show, Living Your Inspired Life. And over the years, I've had phenomenal conversations with people that authors and people that do nonprofits and run businesses and are out doing good work in the world, because I'm looking for the why. And sometimes I'm looking for the how, but really the why. Why am I here? Who am I? Why am I here? And where am I going? And so I came across a book that was sent to me that we're not going to be able to do on the show, and I'll tell you why later. God, there's a lot of whys going around. Okay. And the book is called The Book of Mastery. It's by Paul Selig. And I'm going to read some passages out of it during the course of the show today, because this really resonates with me. And so I just ask you, the listener, as I read this, to just open your heart space, just listen from the center of who you are, your heart space, and allow these words that have kind of a vibrational level. Okay, no, that sounds woo, but there is a vibrational tone to these words, and just allow it to sink in. Because I think by the end of the show, you're going to have your own internal answer of who am I and where am I going. So this is kind of like a mantra or prayer. So when this gets posted on livingyourinspiredlife.org, you can go back to the website and re-listen to these words. And I know they're going to tune you up. So here it goes from the Book of Mastery. On this day, I choose to align all aspects of my life to my requirements for growth. And as I let my life become my teacher, I disembody from the small self to the alignment that I may know in my own worth as an aspect of the Creator in manifestation. The alignment that I hold now will call me forward every step of the way on this magnificent journey that I have chosen in accord with my own knowing of my true self. As I give permission to all aspects of my life to make this transition, I give thanks to all of them for all that they have taught me. And regardless of what I have believed thus far, I give myself permission to know that all that has been chosen was chosen to bring me to this new moment of wonder. I know who I am. I know what I am. I know how I serve. I am here. I am here. I am here. So this idea of giving yourself permission to make the transition and giving thanks for everything you've learned up until now is really, for me, the thing that helped me get through my trauma, and it still does, in allowing myself to change. Because really what it's calling forward is the idea that I, me, Susan, and you, whoever you are out there listening, we have the power to choose. That's been our birthright from the beginning, to be at choice. And therefore, if we're at choice, we also have the power to change. And the only way we can change is by taking self-responsibility, which we talk about on Living Your Inspired Life all the time. And that self-responsibility means that I'm going to investigate myself internally. I'm going to set a conscious intention to be aware and to make the changes I want to make or I choose to make so that my life can be more exciting, more better. Just get better and better. So it really is about self-growth, growing. And for any lasting change that we want to experience in our lives, it has to come from the inside out. It has to come from changing our belief systems, changing our behaviors, changing our perception so that, so that I can see the world from different eyes, not from the same eyes that see the trauma and tragedy that, out pictures on television, across the world, next door, down the street, in my home. But to see with new perception that there is something more going on there than the death and dying and anger and fear and greed that I'm being told is really happening. And so the lasting change has to come from within each of us. And that means that, at least for me, and you guys are, everybody's at choice. You don't have to do what Susan says, but Susan says, put your finger on your nose. Okay, I'm just joking. In order to do that, in order to change from the inside out, this is what I did. I'll talk about me. I made a commitment to my own personal spiritual growth. I made a commitment to be fully me here in this lifetime, right here and now. And when I made that commitment, then my outer world changed. Then my relationship, my marriage had to change because that was no longer the thing that was going to support me in being fully me. It was no longer the thing that was helping me grow. It was no longer the thing that was making me happy. And so that's spiritual, the commitment to spiritual evolution, which, by the way, people, if we're divine beings, that's really why we're all here. Is to have lessons, to have experiences that grow us on our spiritual path. And with that commitment to spiritual evolution, whatever that looks like for you, again, it could be, you can do this in whatever religion you're practicing if you're practicing a religion. You can do this by not practicing a religion. You can do this by walking in nature or going to the beach, and catching some rays. But by committing to the spiritual evolution within yourself, growing yourself from the inside out, you evoke social evolution. Okay, do you get this, people? If we change within ourselves and really investigate, who am I now in this moment? Who am I now and where am I going? How do I want to be in the world? When we really commit to that within ourselves individually, then the landscape of society, of humanity, the violence in the world, I was going to say a really bad word, the mudslinging that happens will stop. Literally, it will stop, because the social evolution will catch up with the spiritual evolution that's occurring within each and every individual. So I've got another thing to read from the Book of Mastery. And I've been working this particular statement for a while, because it talks about who I used to be. I've been working on who am I now. So if who am I now means I got to really check in with who I was, or the pieces that are still sticking to me of who I was that I really don't want to carry around with me anymore, And so in investigating that, I read this statement and realized, I have choice again. I can be self-responsible again. I no longer need to be the thing that I was, so that I could be more fully me now, in who I am now. So this is, again, from the Book of Mastery. Again, listen with your heart. Listen with your heart. Don't let your mind kick in, if you can. I see myself in consort with this thing that I have agreed to know. And as I witness it, I learn through it. And as I release my need to be in consort with it, I give myself permission to rise above it and see it and witness it in a new way. As I choose this, I claim the possibilities that may be inherent in the unlearning of the behavior, the unattachment to the outcome that I have invested in prior, that created or served my alignment to that particular situation. I am willing to learn what I'm required to learn to move me through it and above it, so that I may be liberated from this attachment. Now, I think we all want to be liberated, right? We all want to be free from whatever's been holding us down. And usually it's belief systems. Usually it's behaviorisms that we've adopted either out of protection or just because it was a habit that got us through the day kind of thing. And we can release it. We can learn from it. So you can ask to learn from the thing that you're doing or experiencing, so that you can rise above it and be free of the attachment. I just love that. And now, one of the ways that we do that is you have to be open to doing this, right? You have to be open and patient, because sometimes things don't change immediately. Well, I kind of think they can, but we have to be open and receptive to that immediate change. So you have to hold things kind of loosely in your mind and in your body. If you're determined, okay, now I'm really gonna change my eating habits and lose weight. Now, when you get really determined, for some people that works. They call it willpower. But what happens for me, and I would imagine there's lots of you out there that this happens too, then that becomes the thing I beat myself up with. Wow, I didn't eat right today. Darn, and look at what I did. And oh no, I gained another pound. Crud. I'm not doing it right. There's something wrong with me, and that's not good either. So to hold the thing that you want to, that you're, the behaviorism that you're letting go of kind of loosely, and the thing that you want to learn kind of loosely, then you get the information that you need in order to really be free of that situation or circumstance or belief system. And I'm just speaking from personal experience, people. I mean, I have practiced this stuff that comes out of my mouth. So, not to say I'm a guru or anything like that, but really, when you become consciously aware and you set an intention to know yourself, who am I now? You really can do this. And the reason why is because the universe provides us with all this raw material, all these raw ingredients that help co-create our lives. So we're always, if you hold it loosely and you remain open and receptive, you can always receive those raw ingredients to create whatever the recipe of your life that you want to have next be. Okay, hopefully that made sense. So one of the things that when I was going through this trauma and drama is I heard a mantra after I'd made a decision that I was indeed going to that my relationship was complete and I was going to get divorced, I heard this mantra. And the first part was, I trust the unknown. Now, for anybody who's stepped out on a ledge and you don't really think the ledge is there, and you got to trust that you're not going to fall into the abyss, I trust the unknown, that's a scary statement. But I'll tell you, people, in shifting my perception, which is what we talk about on Living Your Inspired Life, shifting that perception just a degree and being open, like I was just saying, and willing and receptive to, okay, I can practice this for a moment. I trust the unknown. That became my touchstone during the trauma and the upheaval of my old life. It became the touchstone that I went to. I don't know how this is going to work out, but I'm going to trust the unknown. I'm just going to trust it. And so what happens in the asking the question of who am I now and where am I going, what happens is, like what we're seeing currently, is there's a culmination, there's a completion, there's a graduation. Wow, I got to graduate from my own old life, my old way of being. And there also, just in that completion, there comes a recognition of, wow, things are really over. They're just done. They're just over. And so the second part of the mantra, I trust the unknown, was I relinquish the known. I relinquish what I know. And the relinquishing of what I knew was really hard because I was entrenched in what I knew. I used what I knew in that old relationship to define me. So if I was not that, then who am I? And if I'm not this, if I'm not a wife, then who am I? If I'm not, a mother raising a child, who am I? And to go into that place of unknown, I don't know who I am, becomes that amazing empty container that you can create exactly what you want out of by having a positive, focused intention to be better than who you are now, to allow yourself to change in a forward motion, to allow yourself to expand so that you can see more and move beyond known horizons, relinquish the known. So what I would like to do right now is do a short little meditation, because what I began to see as I was doing my meditations is this idea of a clean slate. So Tom Spence is going to bring up a little music, and I'm just going to invite you, as you're listening, to just settle in and allow, again, yourself to hear this in your heart space. Good. So taking a deep breath, centering yourself, just letting whatever's happening before this moment drop away for now. You can pick it up at the end of this meditation, and allow yourself to just be open-hearted and open-minded. And in your mind's eye, I invite you to see a whiteboard. And there's all those different colored pens that you can write on the whiteboard. And so I invite you to currently write what's been going on in your life up until now. Write down your circumstances, write down the good, write down the negative, write down what's going on in your job, your relationship, your family of origin, your friendships, your home, the physical home place. Just write it all down. And as you write it, just see that board being filled up in all the different colors: green, red, blue, black, orange, purple. Just see all of it until every space of that board is full of what you think your life is like right now. Good. Now, just take a step back and see what it is you think your life is. Look and see, and just notice if there's any particular aspect that triggers you that you've written down. Notice the color. Wow, maybe it's purple. Maybe it's red. Just notice. And if it triggers you somewhere in your body, just notice. And as you're looking at this white board, and whatever colors that you've written those aspects of your life in, I'm just going to ask you to bring those colors into your heart space. allowing yourself to absorb it, the color that resonates with what you wrote. And as you absorb it into your heart space, what I know is that you are also absorbing whatever the aspect of that life lesson is, whatever it is that you were meant to have this experience and learn something from for your highest good. And allow that as the color to absorb. You don't have to think about it. Just absorb it into your heart. And as you absorb it into your heart, it becomes a neutralized aspect of your life. That's good. And now that you've neutralized everything you've written on that whiteboard, just look at it again. Everything, every inch of it's covered in whatever you've written about your life. And taking a breath, breathing in, breathing out, you now have a choice. You now can relinquish the known. It's time for the completion. And so as you feel that in your heart that yes, I am ready. I am ready to move on. I am ready to know more of myself, to know more of who I am. I invite you to erase that whiteboard. Erasing all of it, every inch, every corner, until it is completely white again. Good. Now take a step back and just see that you have indeed relinquished the known. You have indeed become liberated from the attachment of what your life currently was up until this moment. And now taking another deep breath, breathing deep. Take up those colored pens again. And I'm going to invite you to write a few words on what you really want your life to look like. And it doesn't, and what I mean by that is, what are the qualities you want to experience? Because if we are divine beings, we are here to experience divine qualities. So what would the qualities be that you want to experience? Love, baby, peace, creativity, creative expression, happiness. What is it that you want to be more of? More love. Maybe it's freedom, more freedom. And write those words. Maybe it's compassion. You want to be more compassionate. Write those words on the board. Just a handful, just to get you started. Because this whiteboard is yours. And you can take it with you. And you can revisit it at any time when you want to add something else. And you can also erase it when you realize that what you've been living is now complete. Good. So knowing now that you have made choices to know who you are and move your life forward, to say, I am here, I am here, I am here. I just invite you to take another breath into your heart space. We're closing out this meditation now. And again, you can go to livingyourinspiredlife.org once this gets posted, and you can do that meditation as often as you like. I've done that meditation, and I found that it gave me huge freedom to reinvent myself, to really claim qualities of life that I wanted to experience that I did not realize I hadn't been experiencing in the previous life, in the previous part of my life. And so who am I now? Who am I, Susan, now? I am living in a space of freedom, which was one of the words I had on my whiteboard. and happiness. I am happier than I've ever been, and I am love. And so in that first reading I did, I know who I am. Well, I know who I am. I am a divine being, and I know what I am. I am love, and I know how I serve. I choose to serve with love, and that's who I am now. And it's really clear for me. Whereas before, the traumatic events of divorce for me personally, I really couldn't have answered those questions honestly to myself. So I invite you to kind of do that self-investigation and see who you are now. Who do you choose to be? Who is it you want to really grow yourself into? And part of what that means is seeing the inherent value and worth that you are, which takes courage, actually. It takes quite a bit of courage. But it also takes a commitment to self-growth, self-evolution, spiritual evolution. Because if I choose to see my inherent value, now by inherent, that means you were born with it, right? You came in with this value, this worth. And if there is a part of you, even a small kernel of you, that thinks that you're not valuable, you're not worthy to be seen and heard, you're not worthy of love, then you got to really sit with yourself, because that is not the truth of any of us. Again, going back to the beginning of the show, we are connected to this eternal oneness of all things, and we are a divine being. So how, if that is so, if you just take that at Susan says, right? Susan says, I am a divine being, and say yes to that, then there is nothing but value within you. There is, what I mean is, you are completely valuable. You are completely worthy of anything, any aspect you choose to follow, any endeavor you choose to undertake, any friendship or anything. We are all, it's our birthright to be loved. And it is our birthright to be worthy, because that's who we are worthy. We are worthy of anything. We're worthy of all the good. All the good. Even if it comes in small little thimbles, we are worthy of all the good that comes to us. So I just encourage you to live the truth of who you are. Be inspired by it, and be that light and love that you are. And so seeing the inherent value in myself, the inherent worth that I am, like I said, it takes courage. But the other part of it is to see that inherent value in others. So when you are, at the market or driving down the street and you see the homeless person with the sign on the corner, to see that there is value. When you see the people that are perpetrating tragedies around the world, to see that they are indeed a divine being. Crazy as that sounds, I know it sounds crazy, but within them, something got forgotten. And it is, again, going back to social evolution, as I begin to really live my life from the inside out, as I begin to live who I am and know that I am a divine being and that I am love, that I choose to be love, because I know that that's who I am, then I can see with a different perception. I can see with new eyes that every human being on this planet, every animal, every plant, every tree is that divine beingness. It is that love already. And some people have just forgotten it. And in that forgetting of it, whether there's pain, circumstances that cause pain, whatever. Yeah, you guys all know this. I'm just encouraging everybody to get into the idea of social evolution by doing the inner work within yourself, because that inner work does make a difference. Lots of people think, oh, I'm just one person, I can't make a difference. Yes, you can, by being who you are, by really investigating, who am I now and where am I going? Who am I now and where am I going? So I'm going to read another little paragraph from this book of mastery, because, of course, this is the book I'm working right now, so you guys all get to listen to it. And again, I'm going to just ask you to let it soak into your heart space and let any thoughts just drop away. I have a right to be here exactly as I am, and there is nothing else that could possibly be so. As I am a manifestation of the divine, I may know myself in consort with those creations that would reflect this for my own highest good, for my own learning, and for the good of all. I have a right to be here exactly as I am, and there is nothing else that could possibly be so. So for anybody that's listening and doesn't think that you're worthwhile or valuable, I'm telling you right now, you are. And so whatever it is that is drawing you to express in life, I encourage you to go for that, to move towards it, to co-create it, because all those raw ingredients, raw materials are available to you within yourself. And what I mean by that is as you get to know yourself and become clear of who you are, then where you're going becomes even more clear. And then the synchronistic things that show up, the people that show up to help, or the random, hey, you got to make this phone call, or will continue to support you and move you in the direction that you're being called to go in. So another thing that I've been working through this has just been in the last few months, is a mantra. I'm going to give it to you as well, because in the new expression of who I am, I noticed that there are bumps and grinds, there are twists and turns. That stuff never really goes away, but how I choose to handle it does. In who I want to be, I want to be happy. I am love. I am free to be fully me. So the mantra that I've been using is, I let go of any and all grievances. And what that means is when I get utzed or angst, I can stop, or sometimes I have to stomp around and be upset and, say some vulgar things. And then I can calm down and let go of any and all grievances, because really I don't want to carry grievances, because that is the thing that diminishes my light within me. That is the thing that causes me not to love myself anymore, because then I retaliate and I react to the thing that has caused me, the person that has caused me grievances. And again, I'm telling you this because this is for social evolution as well. I let go of any and all grievances. Anybody out there that's angry or upset or fearful, let go of any and all grievances with anybody. Doesn't have to be people you know personally. It can be people that you're watching on television. I let go of any and all grievances, because that supports the highest good of the planet. That will begin to undo the tragedies that we're seeing occur around the world. How? I don't really know. And why? Again, I'm looking for the why, people. So somehow somebody can get me a why that I can vibrate with, that I can get, that resonates with me. I'll listen to your why. So who am I now and where am I going? So whenever there is a closure, there's always, it creates a transition. There was something posted on Facebook today that I'm going to read. It's a quote from Louis L'Amour, the best Western writer. I read all his books when I was a teenager. I just, went from one to the other. And Louis L'Amour said, "There will come a time when you believe everything is finished. That will be the beginning." And so when you're asking, who am I now at the end of some change or trauma and drama, it is a beginning. There's a closure that creates a transition time. And in that transition time, I invite you, this is what I'm exploring right now, I invite you to be in the limbo state. There is that limbo state between completion and beginning sometimes, because sometimes we can't quite see that something started. It just feels like we've completed everything. We've let go of everything. Everything's over. It's done. Oh my God. But there is always an inherent beginning that has already started actually before the completion, before the end. They usually overlap. So in going into an internal stillness, you can begin to hear or see or feel what your new beginning is. And that's what I've been doing in this last few months, trying to be as still and as quiet as possible and not be in, I've got to produce and achieve, and be more in the stillness. And so now I see myself as kind of holding an empty container. And in that container, I am allowing the creative power that I co-create with, the creative power of all that is, to kind of fill it. So I'm allowing those raw ingredients kind of to drop into this empty container. Don't know what they are yet, but I'm just allowing it all, and I'm holding it loosely in this empty container, and I'm just trying to be, because I know who I am now. Where I'm going, I'm not sure. That who, how, where is going to begin to materialize as long as I hold things loosely. So this mantra of I am here, I am here, I am here, for me is allowing me more space to be present and hold things loosely as I begin again. Because there are always beginnings. In every ending, in every closure, there is a beginning. Wow, so the reason why I'm talking about all this, who am I now and where am I going, is because Living Your Inspired Life has now come to a place of closure. And we are getting ready to go off the air for a while. Doesn't mean we won't be back at some point. Who knows? Like I said, I got this empty container. I'm waiting for what's going to show up in it and fill it. And then I'll know where I'm going, what I'm doing next. But right now, it's important to recognize when things are complete. And I have a long history of staying with something even though it's been done for years. Hello, my marriage. Lots of other things, other relationships. I stay in jobs long before I should have been out. And recognizing that the show feels complete to me now, it's important that I exit stage left while I know that this part of Living Your Inspired Life is complete and done. So with that said, we are always going to be on the web, livingyourinspiredlife.org. And I want to give thanks to all the individuals, all the listeners that have supported us over the years, that have reached out to me personally or said, hey, when we ran into each other in the real world, you know. And I want to say thank you to all the individuals that made this possible. And many of those people don't know who they are, but I do. So I'm saying thank you to all the authors, the publicists, to all the people that do the nonprofits that came and had conversations and ignited my imagination and inspired me. I am deeply grateful to have done this work with you. And I'm deeply grateful for a few other people. And so I'm just going to name them. Oh my, Beverly Jackson, Tom Spence. I'm getting emotional, people. Joyce Sherwood, Olga Singer, Dan Burrell. Thank you. Because without you, I could not have done this work. And without you, on so many levels, I would not have learned who I am without having you to reflect to me. And that goes back to the listeners too. Without having you as the vehicle that I'm reaching out to and have reflected back to me the work that I do and the truth of who I am, I could not have done this. So, wow, I didn't anticipate this being a little emotional. So what I'd like to do is we have about 10 minutes left of the show. And I have a reading that I love to do when I close out classes that I teach. It's from my mentor, Ernest Holmes. It's a little heady, But I find it has deep meaning, and of course I may cry through some of it, so just bear with me if I get wobbly, people. But it is about the truth of who we are and why we're here, and really truly where we're going. It is a piece that touches my heart deeply whenever I read it. And I really like reading it out loud. So it's going to take a few minutes to read. So just, again, open your heart space and allow the words to flow in. Let it do what it does. And also, again, I invite you to peruse the Living Your Inspired Life shows, because there are shows that are informative, but there's also several shows that are teaching opportunities. There's several shows that have guided meditations that you can find that will help you pick up your day and or your mood, and hopefully will continue to inspire you. And then begin to check in on the website, because there will be another iteration of Living Your Inspired Life. I just need to have the empty container filled, people. So as I sit with that, I'll let you know. And we have a Facebook page that I am verbally saying I am choosing to reactivate. Oh my gosh, now you guys have to hold me to it. And I can keep you updated on my progress and my internal developments of what's inspiring me now. So the book I read earlier, just once again, it's called The Book of Mastery by Paul Selig. He's written several other books. This book is really, for me, touching all the bases. So I invite you to get that book. So now here is from Ernest Holmes, the thing I love to read as whenever I close out a class, and it's called "I Am That Which I Am." I have to have a sip of water. Hold on. Okay. I am that which I am. I am that which I am. I am the eternal presence of your own self. Thus, there is no mediator between you and myself but your own thoughts. This I am has been revealed to you in innumerable ways through the inspired writings of the ages. Each inspiration has been a proclamation that I am is in the midst of you. I am the writer, the inspirer, the thing written about. I am the creator of history, the one who experiences it. I am its record and its interpretation. Everything which has ever transpired has but symbolized my divine presence at the center of all. I am, within you, is the only presence there is. I create innumerable centers of my consciousness personified as people. Yet I am is the thread of a unity running through all, binding all back to myself. Because I am a perfect oneness, all of me exists everywhere. Wherever you recognize me, there I am. And whether or not you recognize me, I am still there. This divine visitor, which is your true self and which is that which I am, is both the one who stands at the door and knocks and the one who opens the door. It is the glory of this recognition which has given to the enlightened true mastership. Do not look for masters outside of me or mediators between yourself and myself. There is but one self who needs no mediator. This self is immediate, present, and available. Any thought or belief which would seek to separate that which I am from that which you are would be an illusion, no matter how lofty its concept or how sacred its purpose. For it would seek to deny the ever-present I am, the completeness of my perfection, the God within you, the inspired thought back of your act. Your true self constitutes the only mediator between the visible and the invisible. I am that self. Be still and know that you are one with me, and my being is you in your life. It is also your body, mind, and spirit, every cell of your body, every thought of your mind, the glory of your spirit. That which you have so ardently sought has never been separated from you for one moment. My desire within you to be expressed has been the motivating power, impelling and compelling you evermore to reach out, on, and up. I am the light dwelling at the center of every soul, human yet divine, infinite yet flowing through that which is apparently finite, unmanifest yet forever manifesting, birthless and deathless yet forever being born. Timeless, I am forever creating time. And you, the expression of myself, appear to be separated from me merely because you are a unique manifestation of myself. For I am that which you are, which all people are. I am in all, and I am all. When the recognition comes from within you of this I am that which I am, you will have discovered your true Savior, your true sonship, and you will know that this sonship is a projection of myself, forever different from any other projection, immortal yet forever expanding. Here you find the true ideal, the cosmic pattern, the eternal friendship of the soul to itself. The God who is personified, the person who is God in man. And how great is this divine riddle, how inscrutable the Sphinx. Men have sought countless times to solve this mystery. How can unity and multiplicity exist together without division? But now you have solved the mystery. You have compelled the Sphinx to answer her own question. She no longer devours you, but, like circumstance, must bow to that divinity within you. Like all things, all created things, must acknowledge the supremacy of that which I am within you. This mystery of unity and multiplicity without division I have proclaimed through the ages, but only the enlightened have understood my meaning. The unenlightened have not realized that those who did understand me were even as they. They believed them to be great prophets, great mediators, governed by invisible masters, controlled by those whom they called saints. But since I create both saint and sinner, know neither big nor little, good nor bad, and being ageless, since I create all ages, I am that which reveals and that which is revealed. And the stone which the builders rejected has become the chief stone of the corner. The vulgar did not know, and even the high priests failed to recognize that the ark of my covenant was in the sanctuary of their own souls. And the scroll of life, concealed in this ark, had inscribed on it merely the words, I am. So that was Ernest Holmes. And again, the mantra from Paul Selig, the Book of Mastery, I know who I am. I know what I am. I know how I serve. I am here. I am here. I am here. And so with that, I say, and so it is. Namaste.